Welcome to this extraordinary solo exhibition, My Country Stays in My Dreams by Janet Dreamer. I'm Anna Kanaris, and I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land on which we gather, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respects to elders past and present. Artitja Fine Art is honoured to present this important exhibition, part of a national program initiated by Yarlayil Arts Centre in Halls Creek and in partnership with Everywhen Art in Victoria. The program brings Janet Dreamer's works to audiences across the country, giving the recognition to this remarkable artist who sadly is no longer with us. So between 2016 and Janet's passing in 2021, she worked closely at Yarlayil Arts with Kevin Kelly, who quickly recognised the strength, individuality and quality of her painting. And Kevin is a long-term Kimberley Arts Centre manager with deep connections to some of our most significant ochre painters, including Queenie Mackenzie, Paddy Jaminji and Rover Thomas. This evening we also welcome another special guest, Susan McCulloch from Everywhen Art, with whom we have partnered to bring this exhibition. To present this exhibition, and I'm now going to hand you to Susan, who will explain the background to the program, and then she'll hand you to Kevin Kelly, who will outline his involvement and officially open the exhibition. Susan.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks, Anna. Thank you, everybody, for coming along this evening. Yes, as Anna said, my business is called Everywhen Art, which I work in partnership with my daughter, Emily McCulloch Childs, and we're also art writers and book publishers and have done a number of things in the visual arts over the time, one of which was meeting Kevin Kelly in the 1980s when he was at the Museum of Victoria. So Kevin and I have known each other for quite a long time. And we were just discussing his early life in the Kimberley with some of those famous artists and how the world has grown since then and the art movement has grown since then. So in 2023, in 2017, we went up for a visit to Yarlayil Arts in Halls Creek and saw one painting by Janet Dreamer which really caught our eye, and Kevin gave it to us to show in our gallery. It took some time to sell because it was very much on its own and it didn't really have any context, but eventually somebody from Canada actually bought it, which was very nice, so it had its little journey overseas. Some years later, after Mrs. Dreamer sadly passed away in 2021, and after the estate was settled, all of that legal work that needs to be done. There were a number of works. She was such a prolific painter that she produced so many works that the Art Centre really didn't know what to do with these works. There'd been an attempt to produce exhibitions, but then it was 2020 and 21, and nobody really knew what was going on, so everything was put on hold during that time. And so Kevin got in touch as the manager at Yarlayil and said, what would you do? We've got what we think is a huge important body of works, and her work had never been given the recognition that it deserved at the times that it would have been having exhibitions, more progressively. So we thought about it for a while, and we thought, well, let's just go big and do a national, see if we can select enough works of exhibition quality and put them into a national touring program. So that's what we proceeded to do, and we worked with Kevin and the then manager, who was here a minute ago, Sarah, and put together this body of work. So we had an exhibition at our gallery on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria in February, very well received and a lot of interest in her work. So this is the second exhibition in the tour, and then we'll think about where we go next for the next few exhibitions. But it's great to be able to introduce this really important artist whose work, I suppose if I was to describe her work, it's unique, obviously. It's very different from anything that I've seen in Aboriginal art, having worked in it for a number of decades now, and particularly from a community which is like Halls Creek and the rivers and the whole country there. It is it's expressionistic. It is vibrant and exuberant and important. And I suppose the quality that attracts me the most and I find most compelling about is the ancientness of the stories and the things that Mrs. Dreamer was representing in her paintings. They all have there's a lot that's hidden that comes out when you look at things for a number of however long, and things are always surprising you. There are ancestral figures, representations of ceremonial practices, as well as all the plants and wildlife in her paintings. So that's really what draws me to these works, and I think Kevin can elaborate a little bit more on that. And I really would like to pass over to Kevin Kelly.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Anna. I don't have that many words to say. I'm not a public speaker, nor do I sort of look for it. But I've had a long time in the Kimberley, over 35 years, and all in Indigenous art. All my work there has been in Indigenous art. And for a lot of that period, I've worked with Anna and Susan, absolute stalwarts at the city end of that movement. Absolute stalwarts, and they've been so good to work with. Fantastic. You know, that's an important thing. But you know, I began my work in the Kimberley in 1992 with Warren Arts. On my interview panel was Rover Thomas and many other notable people. And I took a young family there, and that's become our home. My kids are up now and running. But it's been a glorious ride. And I stepped out of a private business which I had for 17 years called Red Rock Art, not competing with art centres, but filling a gap, a void in the art movement where people living out of country weren't happy to paint or weren't able to paint with the local organisation, which might be of a specific language group. So I worked with people living out of country and turned that into something pretty solid for many years. And I then let that go as artists passed away. Lots of artists passed away. Most of the people I work with now, unfortunately, have gone. But then I started getting back into community art centres, and I was sort of like a locum, I suppose, and I did stints at Balgo and a small stint at Munkajah, and then Halls Creek, the new art centre there, had failed through failed appointments of staff, and I took up there, and I walked into there in 2016, and Janet Dreamer was one of the senior artists there at the time, well entrenched, and straight away I saw this truly free spirit. A 60-year-old woman painting with this, if you look at the work and the joy in the work, it's just really free. And I just looked at this, and we worked with her at the selling end, but it was a young and turbulent. Halls Creek's a very tough place to work, okay, to run any business, okay, and after 5 years I sort of had enough, and then I handed over to a lady called Sarah, who was here earlier, and but what we put in place is a lot of discussions and agreements with Everywhen Art, with Susan, and to put this tour together. It's a body of work that needs to be seen, and I hope it's appreciated here. That's my first point. I had 3 points. No, I'm through 2 of them actually. Now I have a duty to actually open the show, but what I wanted you to know was I'm here to talk to you about anything, questions. I mean, sometimes I say a lot of stuff and it just opens up questions for people, so I'm here, Sue's here, Anna's here, and we're here tomorrow for an exhibition talk, which will be groovy, you know, like it'll be relaxed. It's not like an opening like this. So I'd like to open the show. And thank you all for coming and open the show, and I'll hand back to Anna now.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Kevin. I mean, Kevin came from 37 degrees in Kanaris yesterday, so, and we put him in a cold studio with an air conditioner. Freezing. So, look, we do have an in conversation tomorrow between 2 and 3 o'clock, so there are a few seats available if you'd like to come. It is casual, and really, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I'm looking forward to learning and hearing from Kevin and Susan. So please feel free to do that. And yeah, like Kevin just said, if there's anything that you want to know while we're here tonight, one-on-one is good. So please ask any questions. So if you are able, we would love you to purchase some of these paintings. For us, I had a conversation with Susan the other week. I feel so responsible holding these shows, because it's not just about, whoa, let's just put on this art. So, you know, you're responsible to so many lines, you know, down the track. And for this one, it's a bit extra special because, you know, sort of like sales will mean they go into her estate. They will sort of assist, you know, sort of through to the family and that sort of thing. So it's almost like, I didn't know the work of Janet Dreamer before we were asked if we would exhibit it. When I saw it, I had to readjust my eyes because it is so different. I'm now totally in love with it. But it is almost a bit more, I feel a bit more of a responsibility because the artist has passed away. But I feel sad because I hadn't really thought that I'd connect with the art so much that this will, I mean, there are other works. These aren't the last of her works. There are other works out there, but they won't continue into the future, which is, you know, really, really sad. But anyway, I love this show. Hopefully you will. We're very, very sort of pleased and honoured to have both Kevin and Susan. We have had a long association, but you know, they're a couple of my favourite people and very knowledgeable. So yeah, thanks.